Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to put together a raw food order for raw fed ferrets. The first thing that you're going to want to do, and what I suggest that everyone does, is to calculate what your ferrets need specifically per the National Research Council recommendations for kittens. So I did this here for Howl and Patsu. I'm going to be making an order for 2 young active male ferrets, both weighing 2 pounds, which isn't actually what they weigh now, but just as an example. And they eat roughly 4 ounces a day each. That's actually what they would eat back when I only had Howl and Patsu, which is about 8 ounces total, and it is a bit more than 10% of their body weights. 10% is just a rough guideline because, you know, they were kits back then. And so I already did all the calculations, and what you want to pay most attention to is the heart amount, liver, other organs is really what you're going to want to pay the most attention to. The meat and bone is a little bit confusing. This bone amount is literally just bone with no meat on it. So the way that I figure out meaty bone is via their stool consistency. I start with like 10 meals of meaty bone, and then I will increase it if their stools are too loose, and if they're too firm, I decrease it. But most ferrets do just fine with 10 to 12 meals of varied meaty bone. If you want to learn more about that, check out my last video that I just posted on ferret nutrition. So we have the meat and the bone, which we're not going to really pay much attention to, but the heart, liver, and other organs, and the fish. For fish, I just did like what I normally do, which is 1 meal a week. So for these guys, it would be just 4 ounces. Here's the ratio here for prey model raw, and it's 80% meat, 10% bone, 5% liver, and 5% other secreting organs. And so for 12 meals of meaty bone, which is 4 ounces per meal, it's about 48 ounces. And in total for a month, which is what I'm going to use to put together an online order, because I usually like to do a month at a time, is 12 pounds of meaty bone, 1.4 pounds of heart, 0.70 pounds of liver, and 0.70 of other secreting organs, and 1 pound of fish. And this doesn't include things like green-lip mussels, blue mussels, eggs, oyster, vitamin E, which are things that I don't normally order online. I usually get them in the store. So we're going to be using Hare today because they are my favorite raw food provider, and I have been using their services ever since I first started raw feeding, and I really like them because they're closer to home, so really fast. There are other raw providers that I've used, like Raw Feeding Miami and Primitive Choice, but those take a little bit longer to get here, and I usually prefer my stuff to come quickly. We are going to be using Hare today, and I do have a link that you can use that I think gives you reward points. I'm not exactly sure, but I'll put that below just in case. And I do really like them. They have a bunch of different pages on their website. They have a local farm page where they post where they get all of their rabbits from, where they source their livestock, which the alpaca, beef, goat, llama, pork, and sheep are all sourced from local farms. They have raw food information on here for cats, dogs, and ferrets. They have a raw food feeding calculator, a ratio calculator, which is really helpful. They have a really nice rewards program that I really like, and basically you could just write reviews for any product that you buy, like them on Facebook and so on, and you get points that will take money off of your order. So pretty much every order that I make, I have a couple hundred points to spend, and it does save me quite a bit of money. We're going to go through each of these and figure out what I would buy for these 2 ferrets. And again, we have the amounts right here of what we need to get for a month's worth of food for them. They have alpaca, which is really cool, and you can feed these to ferrets. Not the meaty alpaca bones, these would be too dense, and the alpaca grind is pretty well balanced, but you're going to want to take a closer look at that because it does include, alpaca is a leaner protein than like other red meats like pork and beef, but they can definitely have that. They have a lot of different beef products. They have gullet, which is a muscle meat, beef heart, which is its own category, which is a muscular organ, kidney, which is an other secreting organ. Kidney is a really great option for the other organ category. Liver, which beef liver isn't my favorite liver to choose just because it is a little bit high in copper. I prefer turkey or chicken liver, which has a better amount of copper in there. Beef lung is not a secreting organ. It is considered a muscle meat. The marrow bones I would only get for bone broth. These are way too dense for ferrets. Trim, boneless. They have a bunch of different ground products. I've tried the ground beef pancreas before. The ferrets weren't a huge fan of it, but I did like feeding it. They have ground green tripe with spleen, which is really good. Would be way too dense for ferrets, so don't even think about getting those. But other than that, you can get a lot of different things in the beef section. So for bison, ferrets can also have bison. They have hearts. Kidney would be a really good one. And then the bone-in pieces, which is where I'm gonna start buying things. So they have chicken feet, they have chicken neck with the skin on, and then they have the skin off. I personally much prefer the chicken necks without the skin because I think it's better for your buck, and also it's just less of a hassle. It's less messy. I've gotten chicken necks with skin on before, not from Here Today. I think this is new on their website, but it's just like once you take all the skin off, because it is like way too much skin, most of what you paid for ends up being just the skin that you remove. So yeah, and then they have chicken pieces, which is like wings, drumsticks. I wouldn't normally buy something like this just because I can get a lot of these things at my local grocery. They have duck heads and brains, which is really good. I've ordered these a couple times. These are great. The brains are considered an other secreting organ, but you're probably going to want to use something else for your other organ source just because the brains in the duck heads are really, really small. You would need to feed a whole bunch of them in order for it to actually count for anything. So I would just feed them as meaty bone, and the brain is just extra goodies in there. Duck necks are really, really wonderful for ferrets. Duck pieces I've gotten before, they are quite meaty, so I probably wouldn't get them again, but that is an option. You got rabbit chunks. This is kind of a mix-up bag of different rabbit pieces. Sometimes you've got like organs, sometimes it's boneless, so if you want a reliable source of meaty bone, I would probably not get the rabbit chunks. I would get something like the rabbit heads and brains. This is a really good product. I've gotten this before. Or the rabbit pieces usually comes in like a bunch of different pieces. I've gotten like rabbit heads with spine, hindquarters, arms, etc. They also have semi-boneless dressed quail. These are really, really great. Ferrets love quail, and the bones are super soft. You can just take poultry shears and cut it like right through the bird into little pieces. They're a little bit expensive for the amount of food that you actually get. They have skinned gutted rabbit. I've never actually gotten it off of their website, but there's that. The turkey necks are very, very dense. I mean, you can get them and just chop them up really small. If you don't have like a really nice expensive cleaver, I probably wouldn't, just because it's really, really hard to cut through. The turkey pieces I've gotten before, again, it's kind of like the other products where it's a toss-up. You're not really exactly sure, you know, what you're gonna get, and most of the time it is boneless meat, but my ferrets have really enjoyed the turkey pieces before, so I'm going to snag a couple different things here. Duck necks is something that I always get, so I'm going to add that to my cart. We're gonna do some duck heads and brains. And remember, we need to get at least 12 pounds of meaty bone pieces. Rabbit pieces, which are pretty expensive. Rabbit is always going to be a pretty expensive protein to feed, unfortunately. Always try to get a really good variety. I know it's really easy to just rely on chicken for your raw meaty bone because it's the cheapest. You don't want to do that because it is the bulk of the meal plan. So variety is really, really important to ensure nutrient requirements are being met, or mostly being met. I usually try to do at least 3 different types of meaty bone as far as like chicken, rabbit, duck, shweek, and then the cuts are always different. Okay, so we have 11 pounds of raw meaty bone here, so this will be enough for a month's worth for the 2 ferrets that I calculated for. And they have a whole section of boneless meat. We've looked at a couple of these before. Boneless ground rabbit, my ferrets actually quite like. It is very light in color. They have like chicken breast, chicken thigh, boneless goat cubes, which is really good for variety. It is very expensive though. Boneless ground duck my ferrets really like. You've got ground goat, ground lamb, turkey thigh, a bunch of different options. A lot of venison. If your ferrets can have venison, I do suggest getting that. Chicken gizzards are really great. Duck gizzards are good too, and so are turkey. Bunch of organs, which we will go through as well. Things like pork trim are going to be really, really fatty. You wouldn't necessarily buy this unless your ferrets really needed more fat, which most of the time isn't really the case. Oh, they do have turkey gizzards here. Turkey gizzards are really good as well. And in the bones section, it's different from the meaty bone. You're not going to be able to feed most of this. Marrow bones are good for bone broth. Meaty alpaca, beef, goat, llama, mutton, pork are all going to be way too dense. The meaty rabbit bones are really good though, so these work for ferrets. And I noticed a new product the other day that they had, which is the freeze-dried rabbit bone. So it's just rabbit bone and it's freeze-dried. If you were to feed this, you would have to mix it with boneless meats and organs as a bone supplement to help keep stools firm after a boneless meal or an organ meal. So that's a really, really cool product, but they don't have any in stock. And they have cavies, which is really cool. This is guinea pigs. They have whole carcass ground cavies. So this is entire guinea pig just ground up, and it actually includes the fur as well, but it doesn't have the stomach or intestines. And fur is really great for fiber, and it helps clean the digestive tract, so it's like a natural dewormer. And they have a bunch of different chicken parts. A lot of these you can get just at your normal grocery, but if you can't, this is a good place to go. At grocery stores, they usually have gizzard and heart packs, but most of the time it's like 95% gizzard and only 5% chicken hearts, even less than that sometimes. So if you want a reliable source to get chicken hearts, Hair Today is really good, and ferrets love chicken hearts. So I do need to get 1.4 pounds of heart for the month. This 2-pound product is going to be more than enough. Might want to do a little bit more variety, so we will see. Ground chicken feed, I actually really like this product, and if you feed grinds, it's just a really good additive to increase the amount of bone and to help keep stools firm. For duck, they have a bunch of different products that I think we've already gone over all of these. They have a commercial grind, they have eggs, elk, more freeze-dried. They have different goat products, which I would only do the boneless stuff. They have some goose here, and green tripe. I really like to feed weekly, so I would get probably ground green tripe with spleen. I would probably get some, but of course they're out, so I can actually add it to my cart. They have llama, they have whole prey mice and rats. They also have pinky mice, which are a good introduction into whole prey. And then as far as organs go, we have to pick a heart. So turkey hearts, 2 pounds is $6.99. So it's actually an entire $1 cheaper to get the turkey hearts than the chicken hearts. It's the same amount of product. So I'm actually going to get the turkey hearts. They are a whole $1 cheaper for some reason. So I would get these, and it's 2 pounds. So this is going to be more than enough for a month. Then we need a liver, which, like I said before, I prefer chicken or turkey livers. So for 2 pounds, it's $5.99 for turkey liver, and for chicken liver, it is $6.59. So it's actually, again, cheaper to get turkey liver, so I would do that. Out of stock, so I guess we can't really do that one. I can get chicken livers at my local grocery store, so I don't order them online. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to add that to the cart, so we have that. So now we need to select the other secreting organs. So I do suggest going on my website and looking at my raw troubleshooting articles. I have one on feeding meaty bone, feeding boneless meat, and feeding organs and supplements. So in the organ one, I talk about, there's kidney, a little bit confusing on what's considered an organ. Like gizzards, we do not consider an organ in raw feeding. We already did the liver. So pancreas is other secreting organ, and I really, really like feeding pancreas. I think that this is one of the best types of other secreting organs that you can feed. But of course it's out of stock. So I would normally select something like this, but because it's out of stock, we're not going to be able to. But pork kidney is pretty cheap, so I think I'm going to select this. This is actually what I feed pretty much every month because the ferrets really like it. It is really inexpensive, and it's just readily available in my area. So I would order something like that, but if I were actually ordering and it was in stock, I would prefer the beef pancreas. So we have the meaty bone, all good, the heart, liver, and other organs. Now we need to select fish, and I do order fish off of here today actually. So this is one of my ferrets' most favorite fish ever. It's their ground white fish with bone, and it's coarse ground. My ferrets really love this, and it lasts forever. Like, this is 3 pounds, and if you're only going through 1 pound a month of fish, this is going to last you a very long time. I'm probably going to add that to my cart, though I do suggest that you're switching up the types of fish that you feed each week. I like to do salmon and sardines, mackerel, which, let's see, they have ground Atlantic herring, ground salmon with bone, which would be a good one, ground sardines, and they also have whole fish, which you can do. Have herring and sardines. So I added the fish to the cart, and I do like to get green-lipped mussels, but if you can't get green-lipped mussels at your local grocery, there is a green-lipped mussel powder, and we feed green-lipped mussels for dietary manganese and fatty acids. When it is powdered, unfortunately, a lot of that manganese kind of just disappears, but fatty acids are still mostly left behind. So if you can't feed mussels, also blue mussels work really well. If you can't get them, then I would elect to do a mussel powder. They also have pheasant, which is a leaner bird than chicken. Have a bunch of different pork products, which I do really like to feed. Pork does not really have any bioavailable copper for our animals, so it is not a great liver to rely on for, you know, every time you need to feed liver. They also have sheep and lamb and a lot of venison. So this entire order is about $80, and that's kind of what I remember spending when I just had Patsu and Howl back in the day. Might be a little bit less, might be a little bit more, and like I said, you're not going to be ordering all of these things every month. The whitefish, that's going to last you 3 months. The pork kidney is going to last you more than a month. The chicken liver is going to last you more than a month. It's not going to be the same amount every single month. If you're curious to see how much I spend on raw, I do have a video on my channel that goes through what I usually buy every month and how much it costs for my ferrets. I do have a lot of ferrets, so it's going to be different for you. Of course, shipping is going to add on a little bit more. But yeah, I hope this video was helpful. Do not forget to subscribe for more raw food and pet nutrition content, and thank you to all of our channel members who continue to support the channel, and I will see you in my next video.